Hello, this is Real World Audio, and for my last videos, I have received some excellent comments and these are on the uh, vinyl reproduction. So I started following a train of thought that when you have recordings which have the least amount of manipulation on them, they have the greatest chance for sounding the best. Or I would say not sounding the best, but having the greatest sonic integrity, having the greatest ability to touch you, to create an experience for you that you can experience when you listen uh, to a really wonderful performance that takes you far away. And for that video I have received comments that truly there's like a lot of drawbacks of recordings, so the format itself has a lot of difficulties, a lot of issues with them, and that is very, very true. Vinyl as a format, I mean long play records, have loads of weaknesses, loads of troubles that seemingly, for example, digital does not have. However, unfortunately, digital also has its own issues, which issues are different from vinyl, but they are still just as significant. And for those of us who think that digital is so much more perfect than analog, I would recommend the time travel to go 50 years in the future, because at that time they will ridicule today's best digital just as much as they are ridiculing today vinyl. And that's something which is a constant in the evolution of media, is that what we have today as the new standard, we hold it in higher regard compared to what we had yesterday. And in the mainstream, the current format is what sounds the best, because the mainstream equipment are always optimized for the current media, and that's why your vinyl will not sound as good on a mainstream audio gear as they sound when you put together a system that does not follow the mainstream thought. And my channel is about putting together systems that are not on that beaten path, that's not mainstream. And that's why many of you find my videos very curious. What's this guy talking about? Because when I put on my LP on my system, or play digital, it's so obvious that the digital sounds so much better. And that's because current systems are by far optimized towards the digital. However, this does not mean that LPs are junk. It just means that if you want to get most out of LPs, then you have to purposefully build your system towards that goal. Of course, if your favorites are current recorded digital material, you don't have to go that way. Then a lot of what I'm saying and suggesting in my channel is completely indifferent to you. You don't have to really deal with that issue. If you have all your favorite musician, all your favorite recordings done in the past 5 years in your favorite high resolution digital format, then and you are not interested on about what was recorded in the past, you don't want to hear Claudio Arau, you don't want to hear Michael Chapuis, you are not interested in the life work of those people, these fine gentlemen who made the Bach series, or you are not interested some of the finest string quartets ever recorded, then it's totally irrelevant to you to optimize your system towards analog. And another thing is that just because vinyl has the capacity to really reach to the core of music and just go so far beyond that concept that we hold about sound, just like is it almost as good as a live music? No, I think to me music reproduction uh, is not about making it almost as good as live music. My standard, or I would say my goal, is not to imitate life, but my goal is that to able to bring to my home those performers who have extra heart, extra humanity, who have brought such thing with their music that makes them just worthwhile to listen to them, and they can take you to a special place. And I am talking in this funny flowery language because when you go to a live concert, we have to face it. If you go to a classical music live concert in a real concert hall, 95% of the performances you are hearing are going to be average or below average or pure junk. Just because someone is playing on a violin doesn't mean that it's going to he has the ability to interpret what he is playing at a level that touches your soul. Music does not touch your soul because it's played by live musicians and you bought a concert ticket. It will touch your soul when those people who play it play from their heart. And to me, the ability of a system to sound good, what I think about as best reproduction from a system, and what I hold dear in any music reproduction system, is the ability to render the heart. When those live musicians put their heart and soul into the music, that has an effect on me, it changes me. And I want that when those musicians play like that and they are recorded, I want my stereo the ability to render that, to give it back so I can hear that either when I am live and I have the fortune to listen to them, or if not, then I can replay that from my stereo. And it should not matter whether you bought the concert ticket or you are listening it from a recording. You can connect to the heart and soul of music. However, that applies to the following thing, that if the musicians put their heart and soul into the recording, then your stereo will be able to reproduce that. If you grab any run-of-the-mill recording, even if it was done to the highest quality, even if would have been done on a format not yet invented, which has absolute 100% rendering capacity, it would be still a junk, crappy stuff to listen to. In real life, just because you buy a ticket to listen to people, it does not guarantee you any quality, any sort of real value if those musicians don't know how to play it or they don't interpret it the way that makes you click. I think that this is really the quest behind audio, and that's why I'm doing my channel, because I don't see really anyone treating audio this way. And I think there's a lot of us. I think every single audiophile I know has the yearning to connect to those recordings that were done with the heart. And they are looking for this dream, how to turn it into reality. And of course, we also have a foolish dream, how to turn those recordings which were not done by such finesse, by such capable musicians to sound like that. Wow, that's what high end is trying to strive for. That let's record anyone who we care uh, or not care about, and just make the recording like super high res, and that will magically turn it the best sauce you ever heard. And yeah, people get hooked because of the sonic trickery that's involved with those recordings. But if you are hooked on that, fine. And I think not I think, but I also find that sort of endeavor like highly curious, highly entertaining, and I really like to hear systems that sound like that maybe once every couple of months for maybe half an hour or so. But that's all right. That's curiosity. That's kind of a sort of instant gratification. But I'm not really interested in that, because in trickery, I'm interested in music. Um, I hope that didn't sound offensive to anyone. uh, Whatever you are interested in, be proud of it, own it. And maybe you find it strange that someone expresses his own opinion on the internet. And it might be strange because most voices you hear are voices who have who are who are biased because they are being paid reviewers. And my mentor Stu, he taught me a very very important lesson, that he said, Janos, if you want to be in the audio business, you must never state your own opinion about anything, about any gear, because audiophiles are very sensitive, and they are going to be uh, very very mindful of what you are saying to them. And if you hurt their feelings, they will remember it for life. And because Stu had a stereo store, he had to sell audio gear. That was his living. That's why he never ever told to any living soul what his listening preferences were, which systems he preferred. What he did is that he carefully listened to you, and then you told him what is it that you love to listen to, what are the audio gear that you love, and then he gave you suggestions along those lines. And that's why uh, after he passed away, many of us who were his close friends, we got together. We always get together and talk stories about Stu, and we find out some surprising stuff, because like there's my buddy Irvin, and how he recalls it is that Stu suggested to him that he preferred his CJ power amplifier, which is a solid state power amp. And then to me, what Stu said is that he prefers his Quicksilver M135s. And actually, he did not say that what he thinks was his best amplifier, but he told me that after he retires, that's the only pair of amplifiers he wants to have, and he doesn't care about what happens to the rest. So he had his own way of not really lying about anything, but when you pressed about his opinion, what he wants, well, he told this to me after me practically becoming a family to him. And and uh, and and people try to push him for years, like to tell him what he prefers, and he would always try to evade the question and answer quite kindly and politely. and that was perfectly all right. But however, what I have found, because I did a lot of retrospection on that issue, is that because he did not take a specific stand, because he wanted to make people go on their own path, that also left people wondering, like, what would have been the path that Stu would have suggested to them, and nobody ever learned that, and I never learned that either. However, what I have learned for him is when I was following my own path, which was something actually quite different than what Stu pursued. But he looked into it first with mistrust and then with more and more interest, and he was really excited by the stuff I was doing and we were doing together. But why I was mentioning to this is that Stu was well loved and respected by all the audio community, and he never got on the wrong side of anyone, because he respected people deeply. But on the other hand, people were left mystified. What is it that he thinks that he was himself pursuing? And that's why, guys, I am telling you and expressing my emotions about what I'm pursuing so strongly, because I have very strong emotions about it, and I would be lying to you guys, to all in your faces, in your ears, on to your computer monitors and loudspeakers, if I would say that, oh, you know, every audio system has the same, all of them have drawbacks and benefits and blah blah, we should just strive for a perfection. Guys, I don't care at all about audio perfection, really, because there is no such thing. Every format is compromised. LP is a compromised format. Tape is a compromised format. Digital is a compromised format. However, when you put your mind to it, you can get the most out of it. And under the most, I mean, you will, if you pursue digital, you will not suddenly be able to transform every single digital recording to its peak. And when you pursue vinyl, you won't be able to listen to every vinyl on the planet in a nirvana state. No. If you bring vinyl to its fullest, then you will realize that there are some recordings which are just standing head of and shoulders beyond anything you have ever heard. And you will find that there are others which sound really far, like these two from vinyl perfection. And sadly, I have to add that in the 80s, most of the music that was produced and recorded and put on vinyl in the 80s is not high quality, and that's an overstatement. If I would say like junk quality, or if I look at this recording which was done half a century before these two, this is head and shoulders above these two, even though this is just a ratio. This is high fidelity. These two are the bottom from the dregs of junk fidelity. It doesn't mean that you cannot make them sound good on your rig. Actually, I can make both of these sound just absolutely phenomenal on my system, but that doesn't turn them into high fidelity recording. And also, there was that nice comment that I received from Hoops Mr. Groove, that about that minus 24 dB 40 hertz cut. And before that, I really, even though he's been posting that constantly, I thought he was referring to the RIAA curves cut. But no, he said there's an extra additional cut that people do on vinyl. And I never really noticed that, because when I listened to this, this is like the Bach cantata Psycho. I have the Teldec CD version of it, and the vinyl version. The bass quality in the vinyl just murders the CD's quality of bass. It's absolutely fantastic. You listen to Claudio Arrau vinyl. It's absolute real life piano, concert piano in your living room on vinyl, which means that there is no cut below 40 hertz whatsoever, because if there were, then you would be listening to a baby toy piano in your living room. Here, Michael Chapuis, also gorgeous organ. You are transported to Sweden. I think this is being played at Sweden at an organ. Uh, and so on. I could go on about characterizing this for you, and I will continue. But where did I start my train of thought? I was going somewhere with this, and I honestly lost it. Um, so basically, okay, I found where I was going from. So you will, if you optimize your system for high fidelity, so that those recordings which were done with high fidelity, this, and that, they will sound absolutely phenomenal on it. Then those which were not done, they will sound the way they sound. The Police, even though it's an absolute favorite recording of mine, it was just recorded as a hot potato. It just has like the highs. You have to cut the high frequencies above 500 hertz by 14 dB. Is just recorded that hot. It cooks your ears if you don't EQ the heck out of it, or other fish. Uh, so that's it. There's no single solution to anything. As you say, I would say that vinyl, with all of its imperfections, is an absolutely wonderful format. And there are specimens like this fine specimen, that specimen, this specimen, that specimen, that are just epitomizing what that format can do for you. And there are others like this, or that Depeche Mode, which are fun music, but they could have been mastered way better, and they could have been sounding so much better if they were mastered properly, but they are not. And the majority of the vinyl that was done in the 80s, and let's face it, that was done in the recording history, especially after the 70s, are really fall into the category of almost purely trashily mastered recordings. And and unfortunately people associate that vinyl are like that. But no, that minus 24 dB cut for low frequencies, that was a choice of the mastering engineer. He didn't have to do that. He catered for the taste in the 80s, which was tons of extra high frequency and no low frequencies, partially because the boomboxes couldn't reproduce anything below 40 hertz. And second reason is that what Oops Mr. Groove said is that the consumer grade record players, turntables, they could not read out low frequency material. So thank you guys for tuning in, and we shall continue. Have an awesome day. Thank you for your wonderful comments. Bye bye.